A man who allegedly fled the country after police accused him of stalking and murdering his own daughter is now facing charges in a Utah court despite his MIA status. We are taking a closer look at this bizarre case with one of the investigators who's directly involved. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. 25-year-old Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office Deputy Marbella Martinez started her job as a corrections officer less than 6 months ago. Such a promising, bright future ahead in law enforcement. But that future, those aspirations, they were cut short at the end of July when she was killed in her home. And investigators say her own father, 54-year-old Hector Ramon Martinez-Ayala, is the one who strangled her to death. On August 1st, Tooele Police responded to a welfare check at the home that Marbella, who went by Bella, shared with her father until very recently. They found Bella dead on her bed at around 8 a.m. They launched an investigation saying that at the time that she died under suspicious circumstances. Her father was immediately identified as a person of interest. And we now have charging documents that lay out what police have discovered since August 1st. But here's the problem. This suspected killer, this father, may not even be in the country anymore. So Martinez-Ayala's cell phone shows that he left home, took off for the Salt Lake City airport. Investigators believe he threw out Bella's phone that he had taken as he drove along I-80. And from Salt Lake, he flew to San Francisco and then Houston. That's what investigators believe at this point. This charging document, this indictment that we're going to get into, states, quote, "There are no cell records after the defendant left Houston, but the defendant used his twin brother's identification when he landed in another country and is seen on surveillance video. The defendant's whereabouts are unknown, but his last known location was outside of the United States." It goes on to say, in the days leading up to the defendant's murder of the victim, he stole the victim's credit card and made 2 separate cash withdrawals of $500 each. There is currently a warrant out for Martinez-Ayala's arrest, and when he is captured, he will be held without bail. Such a sad story, by the way, but again, it's our privilege to be able to bring this to you, to talk about this, to bring awareness to this, to talk about this ongoing investigation. And I always say it, but the truth is we are able to do this because of the support that we get from our incredible sponsors. And I just want to highlight one of our great partners for you right now, Upside. Now, here's the thing about Upside. I was just away in Europe, and I was saying to myself, I was saying to my wife, how much I wish I had it going from shop to shop, store to store, because Upside is a free app, and here in the United States, you can use it to get cash back on daily essentials like gas and groceries. So for example, when I pump my gas, if I use Upside, I could potentially get cash back, real cash back, money that appears in your Upside app that you can transfer straight into your bank account. So once you have the Upside app, you claim an offer for whatever you're buying on Upside. You pay as usual using a debit or credit card, and you follow the steps in the app and you get paid. To find out how much you could earn, click the link in the description to download Upside or scan the QR code on screen and use our promo code SIDEBAR and you'll get an extra 25 cents back on every gallon on your first tank of gas. Hope you can check it out. Okay, so to talk about this case, I have a special guest. I want to bring in Corporal Colbey Bentley with the Tooele Police Department. They've been investigating this. Corporal, thank you so much for coming on. You guys have been working really hard on this case for more than a month now. And while there's charges that have been filed in court, this alleged bad guy is still on the run. What is the latest on trying to apprehend him?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. That's the frustrating part of police work sometimes is there's not always that immediate gratification of being able to catch someone in the act right away. We had originally named Hector Martinez-Ayala as a person of interest in the case. Our detectives, like you said, have been working around the clock to try and tie up any loose ends on this case. As it started out, it's fair to say he was likely a suspect. We were waiting for some lab work to come back from the state medical examiner's office, and once that came back, we were able to confirm that, yes, this man did indeed kill his daughter.
And the efforts to locate him and the efforts to, apprehend him and bring him back, do you have an idea, and I know it's a sensitive investigation, but do you have an idea about where he is and what he might be up to at this point?
Definitely. We've got some solid leads that we're working with right now. it's difficult when you have an investigation that doesn't just span across a different state, but a country or multiple countries. And that's potentially where we're at right now. But we have several solid leads that we're working on right now, and we're working with several different federal and international agencies.
So I want to get into this a little bit more. And one of the things I want to do is to look at this indictment. So it names the man you just mentioned, Hector Ramon Martinez-Ayala, as a defendant, and it lists several of his aliases. And that list includes, by the way, Jesus Alberto Martinez-Ayala, his twin brother. I had mentioned that he might have used his identification, right, when he transported state lines or across international lines. What can you tell us about his brother? We're going to get into a little bit of the messages that they might have had back and forth, but are you in contact with his brother? Does his brother seem to know where his brother is?
So his brother was one that originally reported the incident to us the morning of August 1st. It was about 8:30 in the morning that we went over there. Yes, we have been in contact with him quite a bit. He's been able to give us some information that we're working on right now.
And they're twins. By that I mean they look identical?
Yes, yes.
Wow. Okay, so he is currently charged, the suspect in this case, with 8 counts. Murder, 2 counts of obstructing justice, stalking, 2 counts of unlawful use of a bank card, 1 count of unlawful possession of another's identification. And the statement of probable cause says that when Tooele Police found Bella, she was, quote, found lying on top of the bed, covered with a blanket up to her neck. Blood was observed in her mouth. There was visible apparent fingernail claw marks on her face and neck. Corporal, my understanding is you were at that scene. What can you tell us more about this?
You know, anytime you're investigating a death where it's, whether it's due to natural causes or whether there's potentially something suspicious, it's always difficult. It always takes an effect on you. But this one was especially egregious. You have a 25-year-old girl, very young still, kind of getting in her stride in life, and now you're trying to figure out what's happened to her. And it's obvious in the beginning that there were signs of foul play. We can't always announce that right away, but it was obvious to us that she didn't die of natural causes. And leading up to that, in the very early stages of the investigation, it became apparent to us that it was likely her father that did it. And then learning that her father, being able to confirm that for sure her father did it, it's disturbing. Can you tell us, if you can, more of the details regarding how she was strangled, in what way? Do we know that yet? Because right now, all that we seem to know is that he allegedly strangled her. Is there anything more you can share with us about that? Not too much right now, but like I said, we were able to confirm through the state medical examiner's office that she was strangled. So whether that was by, hands or, rope or anything like that, it could involve any of those. Going back to this relationship, this document reveals, quote, the investigation revealed that the defendant's behavior toward the victim was becoming increasingly troublesome. Text records show that the defendant was becoming increasingly obsessed and controlling with the victim. The text message records show text messages from the defendant to the victim are more of the nature of a jealous lover than a father. And it says in February of 2024, the victim found a bag of her underwear with her used feminine hygiene products in the defendant's room. This is her father. The defendant promised to change and stop the behavior. The victim began dating a romantic interest, and in mid-July of 2024, while the victim was out of the country, the defendant purchased a tracking device and hidden spy cameras. The defendant placed the tracking device on the victim's vehicle. I mean, Corporal, these are really disturbing accusations here. Do we have an idea of what was happening here with this father and daughter? Yeah, we're still trying to put 2 and 2 together right now. I mean, I think it's fair to say a lot of people can try to make their own deductions based off of the information that we have. We have a father who is vastly outside of a father role. As a parent myself, as a parent to a daughter, I would do anything for my daughter. I would gladly have my life taken for her life. But then we have this situation where a father not only has taken a romantic interest in his own daughter, but has developed some sort of a domestic violence relationship with her that is unknowingly controlling to her at the time. And it escalates very quickly within a few months.
Can you share with us how this information was obtained? Was it through people who talked about the situation? Did Marbella speak with anybody about what was going on with her father? Did she ever file a police report against her father? Anything in terms of how we know this dynamic of what he's accused of doing?
That's what makes it even more difficult to process is we had no contact with either of them ever.
Right.
They weren't on our radar. It's not a family that we're, typically dealing with on a weekly basis or anything like that. We had nothing of record dealing with them at all. So that was a strange one for sure. It was kind of an out of the blue situation that happened.
Sure, but in terms of how we know that he was allegedly doing these things, how do we know that?
A lot of good detective work. A lot of different sources. We have, obviously we're going to be interviewing neighbors, family members, friends, different people who knew both of them. So there's different sources like that. In 2024, data is everywhere. Data is in everything that we do, and that's an integral part of police work. So data from multiple different sources has helped us piece together what's been a difficult case. Did
Martinez-Ayala end up using those tracking devices that he allegedly put on Bella's car? Do we know that for sure?
I don't know if we know that for sure yet, but I feel like it would be fair to make an assumption based off of when he came back to the house just an hour or two after he saw that Marbella had been to the house. So I think it would be fair to say that he likely did.
Based on the reporting that Bella didn't want to return to her Tooele home, so she stayed in a hotel between July 29th and July 31st, and the indictment states on July 31st, 2024, surveillance video in the defendant and victim's residence shows the victim returning to the residence at around 11 a.m. The last video of the victim is from an indoor camera at the shared residence at 12:23 p.m. It shows the victim walking upstairs in the residence. At 2:17 p.m., the residence driveway camera shows the defendant arrive in his truck. The victim's phone was set to receive notifications whenever the residence cameras pick up movement on the premises. The last camera notification on the victim's phone occurred at 2:17 p.m., which means that the cameras were disabled or disconnected from the internet at this time. Corporal, what can you tell us about that?
That's another piece of the puzzle that obviously you don't have to be a cop to know that that's suspicious, especially after what we've discovered, there being a death inside. Again, I think it plays more into, it seems like he was definitely tracking her using that tracking device. And it makes it even more sad because was she just going home to collect some items and get back out for her own safety? What was going on there? Did she truly know the amount of danger that she was in? It's hard because this could have played out so much differently in so many different scenarios, but it just happened that she had a very obsessive father.
Corporal, one thing I didn't ask you, and it's difficult when you have cases of domestic violence or violence that happens in a home where two people share it, because DNA can be all over the house and it's not suspicious. Is there any physical evidence from this father on Marbella that would say he was the one who did this? Was there anything that would indicate that?
Yeah, so originally when we named Hector as a person of interest, again, you don't have to be a cop or a detective to look at all the circumstances that we saw and go, okay, that's suspicious. There's something wrong there. The reason why we hadn't originally named him as an offender and immediately charged him is we're waiting for different DNA and lab results back from the state labs here in Utah. And after we were able to get those results back, it was conclusive that yes, this was her father.
Look, from an attorney point of view, I'll tell you what I think is arguably the strongest piece of evidence I have seen so far. It's that, and this is stated in the court records as well, defendant's text message records show that he sent a text message to his brother on July 31st, 2024 at 4:34 p.m. So this would be right after he allegedly kills his own daughter, saying, quote, "My brother, you know how much I love you. I made a big mistake, an unforgivable sin. Now I'm too scared and I don't know what to do. I think I will never come back." So he's texting his twin brother that he's really messed up. So on top of the camera footage, now we have this. Is this a confession in your mind, Corporal?
I think that's definitely up to each person's interpretation. I think it's a huge piece of the puzzle that helps lead us in the right direction. While you don't have him directly saying, hey, I killed my daughter, the timing of everything lines up along with that text to say, okay, he killed her at this time, and then he sends that text. It lines up pretty perfectly with the whole timeline that we've established.
Did his brother respond? Did his brother call him after getting that text?
I believe there may have been some attempted contact afterwards, but that's about all I can speak to on that one.
For anybody watching this, Corporal, what can they do to help? And this is a show where, I'll be completely honest, we have viewers across the world. So what can people who watch this do if they want to help, solve this crime?
Yeah, there's several different areas where Hector could be at this point. The biggest thing right now is if you have any information on where he is, if you're attempting to hide him, anything that has aided or abetted him in any way, please come forward. We're only striving to get what justice we can for the victim in this case and bring a little bit of peace to her family in a horrific situation that never should have happened. I'm pleading with everyone, do the right thing. No matter what he said, no matter what Hector said to you, we know what happened. We're confident in what happened, and we want to make sure that he's brought to justice. So please, if you have information, help us.
I hope people listen to that. And, one of the things I'll leave with is going back to Bella for a second, because the Salt Lake County Sheriff, Rosie Rivera, remembered Bella very fondly, saying in a statement, Deputy Martinez was a dedicated member of our sheriff's office family. In her short time with us, she became a cherished friend and an integral part of our team. Her untimely and tragic death is a profound loss for us all. Now, Corporal, I understand you didn't know Bella, but losing a member of law enforcement like this, what effect has this had on you? What is the feeling in the law enforcement community about this?
Yeah, anytime anybody, passes away is tragic, but in law enforcement, there really is a brotherhood and sisterhood, a bond that you form together, even when you don't know each other. There's a bond that's there because of the things that you go through, the things that you see. So when we have something like this happen, especially in the way that this one did, it affects everyone. It's tough to process, and it's tough to investigate. These cases are tough because that could have been any one of us. And it makes it worse with her being as young as she was in the situation that happened. It makes it even harder for Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office. They had another deputy in January that was in the same academy class as Marbella pass away out here as well.
Sorry to hear that. Look, Corporal Colbey Bentley, thank you for the work that you're doing. Wishing you the best of luck. Hopefully there's a quick, swift, safe resolution to this case. And again, you're really honoring Marbella by doing this work. So thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing us the latest details. And hopefully anybody watching this can help as well with your investigation. But Corporal Colbey Bentley, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, what a case. Thank you so much for joining us here on Sidebar. And as always, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak to you next time.